We're live.
Hi, everyone.
Jen, we're live. We're live. We're scrambling today. It's one of those days.
Off to the races.
Hey, everybody. Dave Cooper Live, and Jennifer Cooper. And this is another episode of Building Modular.
Yeah.
This is an exciting one. This is one everybody likes, especially customers. At least over the years and our past experience of working with customers and designing and working with clients today. I mean, everybody loves the design process, but it's also a very complicated process.
It is. And all of the builders that we worked with in the past all seem to have a different take on how to make this work for them.
Yeah.
A different approach. So what we've done is kind of picked the best of the best, if you will, in terms of who's doing what out there, because even though it's so much fun, it's what the clients look forward to. It can be really, really stressful.
Yeah.
And it can get out of control pretty quickly.
It really, really can. So why don't we do a little run over of what we did last week and the week before, right? So last week was all about engineering and permitting. Am I right on that? You looked at me like I was wrong.
It's funny.
It was engineering and permitting.
The weeks are blending and we have a little bit of a keynote to share with you guys as well. I mean, the last 4 weeks, really, what we've been doing is talking about the modular construction process, building modular. And yes, you're absolutely right. Last week, we talked about engineering and permitting. And we touched upon quite a few elements in the design world. And, those two pieces of the process, those two segments of our process definitely touch in a very big way.
Well, they do. So, I mean, just because of our process and wanting to streamline our process, we often have to include some of the color selection stuff like windows and door sizes into the engineering process up front and try and establish what that's going to be prior to the design process. Now, that doesn't limit them on color selections on what they want their windows to look like, but there is some overlap if you really want to have the efficiency of, modular design.
Right, because last week what we talked about was really locking down the envelope of the building envelope of the home, right? Understanding the site survey, all the zoning requirements, and understanding how big of a house your client really wants, what the land can really afford in terms of size and FAR regulations and all of that, lot coverage type of thing, zoning heights, right?
Zoning heights, you were talking about lot coverage, FAR, floor area ratio, which some towns are using in different parts of the country. But really, the design process to get to the point of what we're doing today, color selections, requires you to take a backward look to make sure, hey, can we build what we want to build on this lot? Is zoning going to allow me to build what I want to build on this lot? Is my building structurally the right height, the right width, the right depth? Is my floor area correct? Am I not intruding on or encroaching on the neighbor's property just because I want my she shed? Did you like that? The she shed?
Yeah.
So I think with that, that was kind of what has led us up to this part. Now, also as we go through this, really, it's like a 10-week series. We're going to kind of come back and break down everything even more on this. So this is the first run through of everything, which I think is great.
Yeah, we'll go through everything in a little bit more detail. But again, what Dave's talking about is those accessory dwelling units, right? Those she sheds, those remote home offices, those detached garages, driveways. When you're thinking about the structure and you're thinking about the placement of the home and you're thinking about engineering, you need to have all of that locked down. You really need to have it dialed in.
Yeah, 100%.
And doing that and finalizing that piece of the process will really, really take a lot of pressure off of personalizing the home, truly the fun elements for most, right?
For sure.
For most, not for everybody.
Yeah, for sure.
But that's what we want to get into, the fun elements and what it's all about.
Definitely. All right. So everybody that's out there watching, please tell us where you're tuning in from today. We always love to keep track of that and see where we're reaching or who we're reaching around the world or just next door. You never know. It's always fun. Today, we're going to have a little bit of a game called Would You Rather. somewhere near the end of the show, I think it
Yeah.
is. So we're going to talk about some myths as well when it comes to the design. But the would you rather stuff should be fun, and we're going to give you some tips. And these are really, really good tips on how to have the best customer experience, not only verbally, but when you're handing them paper.
Right. So absolutely, this is a pivotal point in the process. This is an opportunity to deliver a superior client experience and world-class customer service. This is what it's all about right now. This can really underscore the entire experience that the client has and how they remember the process. You know, if this part goes well, we'll be in good shape.
You know, I think people are going to be able to see us in about 2 seconds here. I think there was a glitch with the building modular logo. Is yours up there? Yeah, it's showing there.
Yeah.
All right, good. Everybody can see us. Give me a thumbs up if you can see us. What I'm seeing and what Jen's seeing is two different things. All right, why don't we jump into this, Jen?
Yeah, sure.
So, notes.
Oh my
Handling
gosh.
notes. I love my notes. All right, so we're gonna hop into myths.
Sure.
Here's the first myth. Tell me if it's true or false, Jennifer. Everything is standard in a modular home. Nothing can be customized.
So
Is that a myth?
Yeah. I mean, for so many of us out there, personalizing the home, differentiating your product, this is how you set yourself apart from the competition. So this is kind of a yes and no myth. Like there's a yes answer and a no answer, because if you're working with a factory and you've aligned yourself with a factory who has an amazing selections offering, then yeah, you could be done. If you only build with one factory, if you love the selections, if they really hit home with your demographic, then technically speaking, yes, everything is a standard offer from that factory. We're going to talk about the word standard a little bit later down the road.
You use the word standard,
No,
really?
It makes me cringe.
Don't ever say standard to your customer. It's horrible. We'll touch on that in a little bit. Don't say standard.
Right. But you can absolutely personalize your home, even if it's the little details that makes you stand out from other builders in your area. You can absolutely do it. Yeah.
And I mean, with people that we work with all over the country, every market's going to dictate what your options are that you give a customer and what's included, what's not included in your design process. But like you were saying, some builders and manufacturers this is their product, this is their streamline. It's really cut and dry for them on what the product offering is, and so there are this is it. But then there's a lot of other people, depending on where you're at, like we used to do. I mean, it was no different than building custom homes, and that's the other side of it. But we're going to touch on all of that. So let's hop into some frequently asked questions. Are we ready for that yet?
Yeah, sure. We can do that. Where do you want to start?
Oh, I got my list. How can I sell more options?
You know, this is a great question. And I think maybe what we'll do is rattle them all off, because the answer to all of these is pretty much the same. So what are the other FAQs? You're
good. How can I overcome buying objections?
That's a big one, right? No. Don't try to sell me anything. How often do you hear that?
I thought I was going to read through all these first.
Well, keep going.
How can I make this process easier?
See, that's the big loaded question, right? And the answer to all of these are the same. And you've heard us say this before. It's about creating checklists, creating process, making sure your team is all fully aware of what all of the included features are in your home. Because what we have found happening with some builders, right? Everyone has a slightly different process. For some people, they have a dedicated person who handles this part of the process, right? They have an expert. There are some folks out there who call these rock stars, and they are, because they're a little bit of sales and design and they have a special sauce. These people who handle these meetings and really curate the process. But sometimes it's the salespeople. Right.
It really is. Yeah. There's a lot of builders who the salesperson or the building consultant or whatever you call yourself, they have to manage the customer from the beginning through some are, designing all the way through the color selection. So it depends on your market again.
Right. So the short answer to all of those questions is that everyone on the team who deals with the client, whether it's your project manager, your construction manager, your salesperson, your design center coordinator or specialist, it is super critical that everybody knows what you include with your homes. So if you have
That's right.
3 styles of kitchen faucets, really important that they know which 3 those are. If you have 3 types of bathroom faucets, whatever it might be, everyone on the team really needs to know what they are so that they can answer that question consistently and concisely. Because what can happen out there is if a client asks one person and gets one answer, then asks another person and gets a different answer, it creates a little bit of confusion, a little bit of chaos.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Definitely. Customers, they have the World Wide Web at their fingers.
Mm-hmm.
They get enough confusion from that on what
Mm-hmm.
things cost and what you charge versus what they charge. So having a process, having a detailed list, and everybody being on the same page within your office is absolutely pertinent, because they're calling at different times. Somebody may not be there. They just have a quick question, whatever the case is.
Right.
So process.
Absolutely. And the other thing is with those options. So let's pretend for a minute you have a list of what's included in the home and maybe a list of things that the client could choose to do above and beyond what's included that might have another price tag attached to it. It's also super critical that the team knows what's included in that price, because
That's
how
right.
often has your client gone online, like Dave was saying, and finds it, for a much different price, either on Amazon or Lowe's or Home Depot or wherever that might be. Make sure your team knows what's included with the price, whether it's the installation, the finish work, the extended warranty, what is the value to the client buying it through you versus saying, you know what, I'm just going to omit all of my light fixtures. I'll buy them on my own, because those things can create a headache down the road too.
Yeah, very, very much so. So I had to excuse myself mentally for a second there, as I was like, I better pull up our PowerPoint today so we can show everybody, so we stay on track with this stuff. All right. So why don't we hop into it? We got a lot to cover.
Mm-hmm.
I think, let me pull this up on the screen so everybody can see it, right? This is an opportunity to deliver a superior client experience and world-class customer service.
Mm-hmm.
So where do you want to start with this, Jen?
So we can kind of get back into the advantages of having a really dialed in process, because some of the advantages are, again, that memorable experience, that a moment of, the clients coming out of their meeting with pictures on their phone of everything that they selected and everything
Right.
that's going in their new home. I mean, don't you want them just broadcasting all of those photos over social media, telling everybody, oh my gosh, we just had the most fabulous experience. It was well organized. It was efficient. I was so afraid that it was going to take 900 hours to get through all of our selections that we couldn't make up our mind. People walk into this meeting with a lot of fear, a lot of hesitation. And when they walk out feeling good about it,
makes a huge difference.
Oh my gosh.
The process. Yeah.
And then they're selling for you to their friends.
Absolutely. 100%. So, like Jennifer was saying, set the expectation, right? We're talking about the expectation. We're also talking about an organized space, whether it's your own design center, the back of your truck,
right,
the manufacturer, whoever the partners are.
Right.
Which is really big, and establish, we were talking about deadlines and some other things with the clients, like the expectations that are getting into that. So why don't I put our presentation up on screen?
Yeah.
And then we can start walking through these things.
Yeah, sure. So Dave was talking about partners for a minute there. And some builders, like Dave was mentioning, literally have samples in the back of their work truck.
They do.
And there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. As long as they're organized, they follow, the way that they're presented, and they're organized in a way that follows how you're going to present them and how you're going to capture all the decisions that are made. We've seen lots of builders do this. it too can be a fun experience as long as it's neat, tidy, organized, doesn't have 4 million tools thrown all over the big trunks.
That's right. Well, listen, when we started modular construction, 20 years ago, I sold everything out of the back of my truck. I didn't have a design center, we didn't have any of those things. I used to pull up to a customer's house with my truck. I'd have my big Tupperware bin. I'd have all my carpet samples, all my tile samples. I'd have my rulers and my blueprints, and we would sit at their kitchen table and design things. So do not think, if you're watching this, that you can't sell a house out of the back of your truck. But the reality of it is, if you want to grow and continue to grow, eventually you're going to get to a point where you want to make it easier. It makes a heck of a lot more sense for people to come to you than it is for you to drive all over the place to them.
It does. And here's the truth in terms of both of those statements right now. I know that people do not want to come into our home right now. And I know that some people are hesitant to go into a community space or a design center or a model home right now, right? Given the macro climate that we're experiencing at the moment. This is a perfect time to become a video rock star, right?
I don't know anybody.
So what you can do is practice, because you should be practicing your presentation anyway. So take your cell phone, set it up on a bookcase. And, if you're that person that has all of your samples in bins somewhere, go category by category, create a 3-minute video. And then you can start virtually communicating with your clients and virtually presenting to your clients. Yeah. This is another segment that I think we're going to park and do in the future. 100%. But this is also a great way to practice and really get your presentation down.
It is. Well, listen, we know several builders right now that are telling us they're selling homes weekly, and they're doing it through Zoom calls and through videos that they have. So it is happening out there. The world has not stopped completely. No. But you need to be able to be online. And I think that's what you're trying to say.
Right.
All right. Perfect.
Yeah. So that's one of them. And then, like Dave was saying, back to partners for a minute, the factories. So this photo actually is taken from an inspiration center from one of the factories that one of our builders works with. So you may not have a beautiful space to showcase product or showcase all the different options that a client could select, but many factories out there, they do.
They really do, for sure.
Yeah, so they're a great partner, and so many of the factories up until recently were definitely hosting walkthroughs, whether they were group tours or individual tours. But these photos are taken from inspirational vignettes that the factory had built out for clients to walk through. Hold on, you're going a little too fast. Let's back up for a minute.
You said vignettes. I started seeing vignettes.
You know what? Take one step back. Let's look at that kitchen again. Because what's inside all of these drawers and cabinets and everything else are all the options that a client could choose as well. Yeah. And it's one thing to talk about a pull-out pantry. It's a whole other thing to actually pull out that pantry, right?
It is. You're right.
And really touch and feel everything. And you start to understand the value of it. When you're looking at a photo of it, sometimes it doesn't really quite translate. So that's why factories can be a really great partner if they have spaces set up like this.
Right.
And working with the factories also can help you get your samples if you want to create.
Oh yeah, if you want to do your own design center, you utilize the factory. They have a lot of the connections because they're buying all the product. Right. We have found that with clients all over the country, they're more than happy to help you set up and establish your own collection of design products to obviously make the sales process easier.
Right. It's a win for everybody.
Sure.
Now, if you have a more robust business, let's say you're producing double digits homes, 20, 30, 40 homes a year, and you are interested in investing in your own design center, in your own dedicated space, there are design center experts out there who do this.
Really good ones.
Yeah, really, really unbelievable ones. And these next photos that will flash in front of you, yes, are taken from those design centers, for some larger scale builders. The two photos that we selected to show have one, oh my gosh, I'm blanking on the word. Yeah, totally. A similar feature that even if you can't build out a design center, it's actually the next photo. If you can't build out a design center, if you can't carve out like a true large scale dedicated space, at the very least, create for yourself some type of place where you can cluster all of the items that the client is selecting. So this example is, well lit, and you can see that there's tile, there's cabinet doors, there's a faucet. You can really create a vignette of what that client's future home will look like as they curate their selections.
Right. So, I mean, what Jen's talking about is right here, where you can lay it out and the customer can stand back, take pictures of it, take it home with them. So that when they leave, they don't sit there and say, what color was that? Or what was this? Yeah. They'll have that picture so they can make decisions at home and not keep bringing not keep bringing your phone, but can also send or send you emails.
Right. So this is a vertical space, with really nice lighting. At the bare minimum, what you need is a clean tabletop with good lighting from above, that you can really see all the different products. So that's where it starts. It's neat, it's tidy, it's clean, it's organized, and start creating that moment for your client and really get them excited about how everything comes together.
Agreed.
Right. So this is another photo, same thing. These shelves on the right-hand side were intentionally left empty so that as the client walked through and picked tile and cabinet door styles and cabinet door colors and that sort of thing, you could bring them over to the empty shelves and see how they all look together. And those two things from an investment perspective, easy to do, right? Just some shelves on the wall. A
little bit of paint, a little bit of wood, and you're done. Right. So talk to us about this one here.
So this is an example of a builder who went all out, right? A really elegant, fully fleshed out space with a lot of product, a lot of samples. Many of us out there can't do this right now, but it certainly is exciting and fun to look at and daydream a little bit and maybe borrow some of the elements. Like, if you look on the left-hand side, they just simply have the word create above some of their samples. They're romancing it a little bit to create that excitement in that drawing.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. What is it with the tongue-tied today? You're tongue-tied, I'm tongue-tied. Is it the sun's out? Maybe we're just shocked.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's been raining nonstop. So you know what? Let's go back to the other photo. We'll do that one. So this is just, again, to serve as inspiration. Not all of us can do this. But the other thing is, depending on who you are, where you build, and what you do, what we've seen builders successfully do is leverage some of the bigger brands that they work with. Some examples of that are solid surface countertops, plumbing fixtures,
lighting fixtures.
So even though the factory is the one who procures all that product, based on your volume, based on the level of home that you're building, you may be able to partner with some of these well-established brands to get some of your own product. If you can't get it through the factory, it doesn't hurt to reach out to local brands like Kohler, Cambria. You would be surprised at how many of them have builder programs. And even if they can't get you a full suite of product assortment, they can definitely at least get you catalogs and talk you through really inspiring ways to showcase product, maybe get you some great artwork to hang on the walls with some inspirational photography, and just create that clean and neat space. So,
and if I could, there's quite a few, like the reps out there know the builders that are changing over the design centers. And that's another way to get displays and products. So if you're in communication with the reps or with the manufacturers of the products you want, when some of the bigger builders that have these, 5,000-10,000 square foot plus design centers,
Right.
and they're looking to switch them out. Well, all those custom displays that they had for everything from
Right.
toilet fixtures all the way up to faucets and lights and flooring, they're changing them out. That's an opportunity for somebody out there to get those for their own design center.
Yeah.
Because they're beautiful.
Yeah. So with that, a point of contact that we used to leverage, an event, a trade show, that's when those meetings would typically happen in the past, right? You're at IBS, you're at, World of Modular.
Right.
There's vendors there. You start to cultivate those relationships. You start to have those conversations. And that's when you can say to them, hey, do you know anybody who might be phasing out of this or that, and anything that we could borrow or steal, beg, borrow, or steal. So we may not have any trade shows coming up right now, but we definitely have LinkedIn, right?
We do.
We definitely have social. There's definitely ways to still connect with these people, build relationships, build rapport, and start creating that dialogue.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So listen, everybody, if you're just joining us, we are all talking about all design and the design process in Modular. It's a kind of in order sequence from where we were before. Quick shout out to Greg Ugaldi and Miles Biggs. There's some others. We're going to do a Q&A at the end and answer all of these questions. And tell you what, it's not to make you wait till the end. I know I hate when people do that. It's just because we have so many questions coming in. And listen, we're really going to get into some nuts and bolts and some really key things that you can do out there to change how you communicate with the customer. I highly recommend you stick around because it's the switch of just how you use a word or two, and it'll make a huge difference in everything that you do. And it's made a huge difference with us and people that we work with. So, all right, let's hop into it, Miss Jennifer.
Yeah, so we can, maybe just leave the screen for a minute. But again, going back to process, it's about setting expectations, creating deadlines, and rewards for achieving deadlines.
Got to have awards,
right?
Got to have rewards.
So here's the choice in words that actually is the first example of how language is so important. You don't get your hand slapped if you miss a deadline.
Right.
You get rewarded when you make a deadline.
That's right. So what kind of reward can we do, Jennifer?
Other than free lollipops and candy.
Yeah.
So some of the things you can build into how you present pricing to your clients. If you say we need to really nail down, finalize, and authorize all of the design selections in the next 30 days.
That's right.
If we can do that, if we can finalize and really sign off on all the design selections in the next 30 days, we will hold your price for
X amount of time. Incentivize them, right? Because nobody can hold prices for a long, long time. I mean, there's price increase, there's trade wars, politics are going through the roof. So there's all these different things. However, you can use those pricing increases that we all know come every few months or every quarter to incentivize customers. Use it to your advantage to keep them moving through the process. Speed is money, time is money, all of those things. And, it also, sometimes people just need that push.
They do, and that encouragement. And again, this is the dreaded piece of the puzzle for some. But if you create some homework, and again, don't call it homework, but if you clearly coach your clients in terms of how to best prepare for a meeting like this, that certainly helps. So an example of that is some builders make it mandatory, not mandatory, but they strongly recommend that children stay at home for a design center meeting.
For sure.
When meetings like this are happen, that, even though school might be out, it's a weekend. It's really hard for clients to focus when they have a 2-year-old running around, or that's hungry.
5-year-olds touching everything and running into people's offices. Never been there. Don't know anything about it. Leave your kids at home when you come to design center meetings. Stressful enough.
Right. And you don't sit there and say, don't bring your kids to the meeting. Really what you say is, we really want you to be at your best during this meeting. We want you to be clearly focused, able to make decisions with confidence, touch it once and move on. We really, making decisions with confidence is hard to do when you're hungry, tired, distracted. So if you have to schedule a meeting around lunchtime, make sure you have some snacks or food on hand.
Right. Well, a lot of builders that are out there will make it an all-day event, right? Like that one day where somebody comes in and they plan it for 4, 6. I mean, they can go longer than that, which we do not recommend. It's painful, but you have to think of the client experience. And that's what we really want to get across here. This is an opportunity for you to shine. Right. This is an opportunity for them to come into something which they're all looking forward to. And leave there like wowed. And if they're hungry, if their kids are driving them nuts and driving you nuts, and people aren't paying attention, that wow factor quickly goes away, and you slowly lose them in the process, and you miss that opportunity to take them emotionally to the next level. Would you agree?
Right. Absolutely. So think about how you want to present that information, but really strongly recommend that your clients come well rested, focused, and well fed, so that they can make decisions with confidence and move forward. It's all about, and also make sure they're clear on how much time to plan for this meeting. Dave was saying sometimes it's an all day, sometimes it's a block of time. Make sure you're totally both aligned on how long that meeting will be. And then again, before they come to the meeting, let them know what those deadlines are for making decisions.
Everybody loves deadlines. Everybody. Kids love them. Adults love them. We all like to know where we stand and how we're going to come and go without things dragging on, right? Because nobody wants to be rude and say, all right, well, your time's up or your time's not up. Right. So deadlines are extremely, extremely important.
Right. And that's how you create a really great experience, a comfortable experience, and create value, right?
You do.
That you're looking out for the client. It's all about them, right? You want them to have a good experience. You want them to move forward with confidence and be excited. So
100%. So, all right. So let's keep moving here. So good client service never goes out of style. That's what we like to say, right? Good client service never goes out of style.
Right. Regardless of the environment that we're in right now and how things are changing by the moment, right? The buyer experience right now, for anyone who had never ordered anything online before, I mean, everyone is a pro at that right now. So that preview buying, that pre-sale, if you are organized to a degree where you can, maybe not all of your selections, but you can share some of your selections prior to a client coming to a meeting so that they can already start thinking about the style that they like or what they're looking for. Set up house accounts and Pinterest accounts.
That's right.
And share them.
Or third-party software. A lot of the clients out there where they're using Builder Trend, Co-Construct. There is design software out there. A lot of the design process today, just like we were talking about, people are ordering online and ordering from home, can happen before they even walk in. So having a detailed checklist of what the customer needs to understand, what they're going to go through is super, super important. And sending those out in emails and things prior to them even coming into the design center is just paramount to making everybody's life so much easier. You want to start setting those expectations. These are the things we're going to do today, ... These are the selections we got to make. And if you do have them online, even better, because you can send those selections. They can have a login to the link.
Yeah, for sure. And some of the factories have a great virtual portal that if that's what you're offering, if you've adopted their selections, then, you're done, right? You can just share within that portal. And a lot of what we're talking about right now is, and I'm kind of jumping ahead to, I know you said we're going to wait for questions, but I'm jumping ahead to Greg's question because it's relevant. What we've been talking about is having a singular source for the design process, one location where all the design meetings are happening. That's kind of how we've geared this checklist and we've geared this conversation. But a lot of these things apply to the folks who don't have that option or may not have that opportunity and have to go to a couple of different supply houses to really get through this process. The bones of this still are the same.
Right.
Don't let them walk into a lighting showroom and pick from everything. I mean, that is just so overwhelming. It is. Walking in and all these light bulbs are like
It's like walking into Home Depot and you got
Oh
you got so much just hanging everywhere. Customers like choices. We have learned this over time and year after year. And if you go to any of the design centers out there, big players, production builders, it's a very defined process. These are the selections, and they have great selections. It's just a matter of, narrowing it down.
Right.
But that also requires you staying up to speed on trends and what's happening and what customers want in your region.
Especially if a product's been discontinued or, isn't available in your area anymore. Those are the things that you definitely always need to be aware of and on the lookout for.
Yeah.
So again, jumping around a little bit here, going back to partners, we always talk about how important it is to be part of your local home builder remodelers association and how important it is to be a part of the MHI and MBHA. These are places where you can get a plethora of
experience and networking, reaching out to, people in the community at your builders association, us. It's no way. I mean, everybody's willing to help in this industry.
Yeah, for sure. And these are the trusted advisors that you can go to, especially if you don't offer all of your selections in one location. Again, thinking about a couple of the different home builder HBRAs that we're a part of, there are unbelievable folks from lighting stores and plumbing stores and tile supply houses that we have, even though many of our builders have brought the design center in home, there are some times where you need to send somebody out, where you need to send somebody somewhere. And having those relationships, having those acquaintances in the industry who are local, big win. Super big win.
It is a big win. It is a big win. So with that said, comfortable, informed clients make confident decisions. And I think that's kind of what we're talking about, right? And the other thing that's really, really important is to make sure you allow sufficient time with the customer, but don't overdo the time. That's a big thing going through the design selection. Everybody has a breaking point. We always recommend, no more than 4 hours.
Yeah.
That's a max, really. I mean, 2 hours is even a long time.
Yeah. And there are some people who can't get it done in 4 hours. And there are some homes that you definitely can't get done in 4 hours. Align with your client on what the expectations are. Hey, we're going to have 2 meetings. We're going to have 3 meetings. We're going to have 1 meeting just to talk about all of the exterior categories. And then on the next meeting, we're going to come inside the house and talk about all the interior finishes.
Right.
There are some people who need a single meeting just to do kitchens and bathrooms.
That's right.
Just to do that, right? They say the kitchen is the heart of the home. And we've seen builders who have dedicated one whole meeting just to those 2 categories. And we're talking about, everything in those areas, flooring,
flooring, trim, cabinets,
services,
window colors, door colors. I mean, there's so many.
Yeah.
There is a ton. There is a ton. Are we getting close to questions and answers? And would you rather? I'm excited about it. It's kind of fun because you're going to learn something really cool in this. And I think it's, to me, the favorite part of the conversation today.
Yeah. Before we get into that, though, just want to underscore the importance of how design brings the entire team together, right? The design process touches every element of the team. Think about it. Sales, if your salespeople aren't doing the design meeting, the personal selections meeting, they definitely need to be up to speed with what was decided in that meeting and how things were left. So design touches sales for sure. Construction, right? Sometimes there are some design elements that are incorporated that you need to confer with the construction folks, right?
That's right.
As it relates to maybe work that might be done locally or any nooks or crannies that you're really maximizing. We love to find empty spaces and create beautiful built-in bookshelves, or unique staircases, just some nice custom elements in some of some homes. And so you really need to make sure from a construction standpoint, you can
You can do all those. And just, for everybody that out there, we use the word sales in this type of environment, but we never use that word with a customer or a client ever.
We don't. See, I'm already breaking the law.
I know. So, well, that's okay. I mean, but most people do. Most people do. So here's a tip, for us, and what we like to do is, everybody has the way we approach a customer is building consultant. Right. Not a salesperson, a building consultant, a guide, somebody that's going to help walk them through the process, be their advocate, right? They're there to advocate for their client. And I think that's just a really important thing to add to it.
I love that you're saying that. I really do. I really do, because it means you believe it.
I do believe it.
I know, right? Nobody wants to be, sales is really a dead thing.
It is.
It's really, you're guiding a client to make the choice that's right for them. You're consulting them in an area that you're an expert.
That's right.
So
it is. Well, you like to say all the time, as a building consultant, right? If you're sick, you go to the doctor.
Right.
Right. If you want to build a house, you go talk to a building consultant or a builder. Everybody watches HGTV and they watch, Homes on Homes and all these other things out there. And then they want to come in and tell us how to do it. And you go, well, I've built 1,600 homes already. Right. If you know how to do it, why you're hiring me? So you're the consultant, right? You're the expert. Put that millionaire sticker on your forehead and don't let it fall off, because it's well-deserved. And what we do is a very complicated thing. And I think people need to remember that personally when they're dealing with people. You're the expert and you have to, make sure those boundaries are set.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And I'm so glad that you paused to really make that point, because it's a big one.
Brownie points. Perfect. All right. Love it. All right. So where are we at now, Jen?
Just the importance of team integration, how design touches everybody, the follow-ups that come from the design meeting.
Yeah.
From estimating the factory, long lead times, right? If you're going outside the box in terms of what you're offering, these are the things that you need. If there are outstanding questions left from the design center meeting, you need to close that loop quickly, because the longer that chain is left unraveled, the longer it will take for you to get through this process.
For sure.
So your side of the bargain is that you will answer the outstanding questions quickly to the best that you can, if you are expecting your clients to make choices quickly, right? So what does that mean? Help me understand what the price is between A and B. You need to get them that pricing information if that's what the decision is hanging on.
Well, that's it. I mean, you got to set the expectations and put deadlines to them. Mm-hmm. And when a client actually leaves the meeting and they didn't make a decision, you got to set an expectation on when that decision is due. And remember, dangle the carrots.
Yeah.
These are the incentives. If you do your job and I do my job, and we can achieve the end goal of your move-in date when you want to do it, right? Yeah. And we all work together, there's definitely rewards for both involved. Perfect.
Absolutely. So,
all right.
I know we're not to your game yet. Sorry.
Oh. Well, we better get there.
So I said, nobody likes homework. Nobody likes pre-work. Nobody really likes work in general these days. Even though we're working like mad to reinvent ourselves. But setting up for that initial design studio appointment, that initial meeting where you're going through all of those personal selections, we touched upon this before. I don't know if we want to go back to it,
windows and doors, right?
Yeah.
So windows and doors, most people think are part of the design meeting, and they are. They are, from colors, options, glass, 9 light, 15 light, grills, no grills, SDLs, whatever you want to call them. But the reality of it is, when designing modular, you want to get these structural openings, like we talked about, into engineering in the beginning.
Yeah.
And then get into the colors and the options that come with it when you're in the design center. Right. But so there is some overlap here. But I want to be very, very clear. If you change window and door sizes, it can, depending on where you build and what you do, change and say, I got to get re-engineered again by the third party. And that's what you just have to understand. There is a process here that you need to follow.
Yeah.
So, and same with electrical, right?
Right. So electrical is a big one that we try to get in front of. So what does that mean? How do we do that?
So electrical, in regards to light fixtures and where they're at in the house, you can change those for the most part all day long. Mm-hmm. Where your service comes into the house, that's something you want to pay attention to, because that's going to map your site plan, your surveys, your engineering, whatever those cases is. But
Right.
yeah, you can add recessed lights and do what you want to do there, and that'll happen on the pre-production line.
Right. But some things that you want to keep in mind is, how you're using your home from a technology standpoint. We've seen clients who, really did everything, all the bells and whistles, right? They needed a lot of power coming into the house. They needed, from a wiring perspective, they wanted everything hardwired. They didn't want to rely on wireless for anything.
Some of the clients don't want any of the wireless that we deal with, but other ones want everything wireless.
Right.
So I guess it just depends. But even with that, you still have to have a mesh network and, something that's really solid for those wireless products to work through an entire house.
Yeah.
So there's a whole nother level of complication that jumps into that. But from a wiring perspective, the biggest thing is really, where's my service panel? Where's my location? Am I going to have a disconnect because I want my panel on the side of a garage, but I want my sub panel in the basement? There's all these different things that one needs to pay attention to.
Yeah.
And then some other things we want to talk about, and this is the fun stuff. Imagining being on the beach and where's my flat panel TV going on my wall? Right? So we got to get people to start living in their house prior to building it.
And this is where the whole augmented reality, virtual reality comes into play as well. You might be there, you may not be there, but the requirement is the same. You need people to look at a floor plan, look at a blueprint, and virtually walk through their home and understand if they have pre-existing furniture that they're going to bring into this home, or they're thinking about furniture they're going to purchase specifically for the home. Things to consider are oversized couches, beds with very tall headboards. We've gotten into, or we've seen builders get into, where we had to change window openings on site because the headboards were too tall for the rooms that they were going in. And we had to pull out the windows and change them all.
Yeah, we had a Viking refrigerator. We didn't account for the stairs wrapping up. We had to get a crane, take a window out. It was third floor. It was a beach house on piers.
Right.
Oh, and who wants to lift somebody's, refrigerator, especially like one of those Vikings or, $15,000, $20,000 refrigerators.
Yeah. Yeah. And same thing. We had an on-site countertop that we custom ordered and
it was
same thing. Couldn't get it up the
that.
staircase, so you really have to think about specific things that the client is looking to put in their home, heirloom items, artwork, TVs, right? Where are the TVs going? Some people want them above the fireplace, others don't. That's how, if you're thinking about that, you want to get that wiring there before.
Sure. Absolutely.
Instead of later. So ask your clients, is there any furniture that's, we need to talk about? Where's the couch going? Where's the bed going?
All those things. I mean, it makes sense, right? There's no walking into your room and then deciding with modular, we have to have the customers visualize. So perfect.
Yeah.
So let's get into language.
Let's
get into language, and then would you rather? I know this has been a long episode, and Jennifer's on a talking thing today. She likes, which is great because this is what she does a lot of with talking with people across the country. And I think there's just so much to it.
Yeah.
And if anybody wants to deep dive further, please reach out.
Absolutely.
Definitely. All right. So language. So let's do some role playing, Jennifer.
Uh-oh.
All right. So I'm a building consultant. I'm going to say to Jennifer, your standard offerings in your house are, or you want to try it back?
The included features that we showcase in our design center are.
Did you get it? They're not your standard. It's your included features. Nobody wants standard. Standard means, plastic, faucets from, a hardware store somewhere. It's included features. And that's what you want to say. You just want to change some little words. All right, let's do another one. All right, Jennifer, here is your pricing.
Oh my gosh. Don't talk dollar signs.
Oh, here's your quote. Would you like your quote? How would you say it, Jennifer?
This is how we're investing in your new home. Here is your investment summary.
That's right.
This is your investment for the future. Here is the value. But investment. I think investment summary, investment. That's the language.
Yeah, you don't want to call it somebody's pricing or somebody's quote. They're building a house with you, for God's sakes. It's the biggest investment in somebody's life. Typically, it's an investment. Let's call it
Absolutely.
that. It's
Absolutely.
their investment. It's their investment summary. This is your investment in us, and we're going to build this for you at this price.
This is your future.
Yep. All right. Here's the last one of this, and then we're getting into would you rather. Here's your contract.
Lawyers issue contracts. Builders issue agreements.
That's right. We're entering an agreement.
Purchase agreements, design agreements, construction agreements. Contract is scary. Contract is for adults.
It is. It is. It is. So again, it's an agreement. This is a long process. These customers, and a lot of them over the years that I've even worked with are my friends now.
Yeah.
I know them. They invite us over, and you got to just use the words differently. There's lists and lists and lists of these things, but those are a couple big ones that I think you can take away and use right away. It's just simple changes that you can make in your process right now. All right, Jennifer, would you rather?
Do you guys know the would you rather game?
We have to play with our kids all the time.
I know. It's definitely a tween thing.
All right. I'm going to do it here. If you were in a car dealership, a department store, a restaurant, or a model home design studio, would you rather be sold something or serve something?
Oh my gosh. It's all about serving something, right? Serving information, serving a need that needs to be filled. It's all about service. It's not about selling.
Would you rather be talked to, listened to, feeling like you were heard and understood?
Oh, don't talk, listen. Right. And this is a big thing for and this is the language thing with the home building consultant. As a consultant, you are trained and taught to listen, talk less, listen more.
Yeah.
And that's how this is as well. Ask your client questions like, how are you going to live in this home? Who's going to live in this home? How do you see yourself living in this home 5 years from now? It's okay to talk if you're asking questions, but don't be selling.
That's right. All right. Would you rather, when speaking with clients, understand their why and help them find their way?
Absolutely. Start with why, right? That's something that you and I talk about all the time. If you ask those questions, if you find out why they're looking to build a new home, where they're looking to go, what brought them to you, then you can understand their frame of mind. You can meet them where they're at. If you start talking immediately, you don't really know where they're at. You don't know if they're coming into you because they just lost their home to a hurricane, or if they're coming into you because they just inherited a windfall from their great grandmother. You don't know why they're coming into you, then you don't really know how to serve them. So it's really important to understand their why, and then you can really serve them an amazing experience.
100%. All right. So creating operational excellence is all about having all of your people and all the departments work together to create a stellar journey from start to finish. We want to upserve them, not upsell them.
That's exactly right.
Right?
That's exactly right.
All right. So we're almost there.
That next slide. That's where you are.
We have a slide? We have a slide.
Right. So this is essentially what Dave just said. It's all about creating that operational excellence. It's about having all of your people. It's really about good design, good customer service.
It all is good design, good customer service. So, I mean, there you have it. So what do we have for people on questions? Do we have anything we want to take a look at, Jennifer?
Yeah, so we've had a couple of folks super excited to see someone in our backyard. We have Jose from Fairfield, Connecticut. Thank you for joining us.
Hey there, thank you.
Yeah, I hope you're doing well. We've had a question come in from Miles. How do you decide what fixtures options are installed in the factory versus installed after the home ships? Definitely a great question.
Yeah.
And again, it's about creating efficiencies. So as much as we can do at the factory, we really recommend doing at the factory. That's where you get that cost value relationship.
Yeah, 100%. So do we have any other questions on that? We answered Greg Ugaldi's questions. Love Greg Ugaldi, the immediate past chair of the NAHB. Thanks for joining us, Greg. It's always nice when you chime in. Means a lot. All of you, it means a lot. Mark Willie. Casistas, Build Small, Mark out of Chicago, made some nice comments. Dave Cooper last week was a long time ago. It feels like it, man. Every week you do a great job sharing the process of Modular on behalf of purpleboxhomes.com. High five, Mark. Purpleboxhomes.com. Check them out. Great, great people. Andy Neer from West Michigan joined us today. You mentioned Jose from Fairfield, Connecticut. Craig Carter from Greensboro, North Carolina. Thanks for joining us, Craig. Love it, love it, love it. Miles. Oh, there's Miles again. Craig Carter had a question. Have you found a benefit of making selections in a certain order? Exterior selections first and then interior selections?
That is a great question.
It is a very good question.
You know, sometimes you have to follow the lead of your client and where their enthusiasm lies, but we strongly recommend that most builders start with the big ticket items first. You know, so sometimes that crosses interior and exterior. So some examples of that are exterior cladding, windows, exterior doors, but also on the inside of the home, flooring and staircases. So we try to address those categories first because they can be a significant investment at times. And then we follow an inside outside type checklist.
Yeah, absolutely, Craig. So listen, when you're in the design process, right, we're trying to get to a number that's in the customer's budget, right? We don't want to over design. We see it all the time. People walk in with architect's plans, say, design me this beautiful home. My budget's $500,000, but our quotes are $1 million, or, you know, so that you don't want that. So we want to get some of the big ticket items up front, you know, so if they're doing something different than vinyl, like a James Hardy fiber cement or what have you, oak hardwood stairs, like you were mentioning on the inside, let's capture those things up front so the customer can make quick decisions on if it's worth, you know, value for them or not based on their budget.
Absolutely. Great question.
Thank you very much for that one. Greg Ugaldi, do you ever send customers to other builders' homes and open yours to others? Now, you know what? This is a great question because, you know, Showcase of Homes.
Yeah.
Right. We do the Showcase of Homes in New England. Parade of Homes. Right.
Yeah. But Dave's talking about there's actually two things. There's Parade of Homes with the HBRA, and strongly recommend that if you can participate in one of these, you absolutely should, because nothing sells homes better than a finished home or a in progress home. I mean, that's the bread and butter of what you do. So that is a great opportunity to showcase your product. The other thing we've guided builders to do is what we call a new home showcase.
That's right.
Where they pick a point in time and where they get their clients sign off, where they showcase that home to others from the outside.
Super important. That sign off. When you're building a house for a customer, by the end of the process, they're typically wanting to move in their house. So in the beginning, you know, you want to have an agreement that says, all right before we get our C of O, we can show that house. And I want to give a couple other things here that can shoot you in the foot as well. If you're pre-showing houses, you need to make sure that your team is on par and that house is clean. The floors are swept.
It's safe.
Safety. It looks great. You know, and you don't want the customer seeing something that's not right. You need to make sure that they walk into a very organized, well-lit home, and that your workers, if they are there, or trades or anybody else, everybody knows to say hello.
Absolutely.
Welcome them into the house.
And we've worked with builders who actually sequence these new home showcases so that they don't have to have a design center.
That's right.
So that they don't have to have a dedicated space. You know, they're sequencing their homes, finishing one after the next, so that any clients that they have in the pipeline, they rejigger the schedule and get them into that house to do their selection process.
Yep. And the last thing on this, just to really clarify with Greg's question, is, do we send clients to other builders? Here's the deal. If you work very well with another builder, because some builders work together, they help each other out in slow times, or if they get backed up, and you trust the level of quality and you have an agreement with that builder, then by all means work together. But they need to meet your level of excellence. They need to meet your build quality. They needs to be able to see the same products that you're offering. So keep that in mind. If you don't know somebody and you're just sending somebody to go look at their house, people do that. I get it. But it can also be a very dangerous game for you because you never know what they're walking into. Be careful with that.
Clients sign off is definitely key in terms of that partnership.
Right. If you are going to show your own home, get them to agree to let you do a showcase in the beginning. All right. So where are we at? We have one more question that we didn't, Where you rank design of importance relating to the overall process: plan, square footage, location, design, architecture, lot size. Well, I think we kind of covered some of this in the previous, right?
Yeah,
How we go through our process. And again, I'll say in modular, we have to think of things up front. We're not changing things on the fly. So as we go through our process, we pay a whole lot of attention to the bones of the structure, how we're going to live in this house before we get into the fine details of the quality of the finishes, right?
We really do. I mean, there's so much that goes into the planning, and that's what sets modular construction apart from traditional site-built construction, that we're trying to really cover and answer all of those specific things very early in the process. Because if something isn't finalized, it's like trying to hold water in your hands. If those elements aren't coming to a finalization at the same time, you're never going to win. You'll always be chasing down something, right? If the square footage changes, you're changing your design elements, your investment is going to change. Like it's a dangerous push-pull. So what we're trying to do very early in the process before construction starts is finalize and authorize all of those decisions.
Absolutely. 100% agree with that. All right. Last question from Craig. Are you utilizing a design agreement, AKA pre-construction services agreement, prior to client signing the construction agreement?
That is a great question.
It is a very good question.
We've seen builders do it multiple ways. We've seen people have 3 separate agreements depending on which stage of the process they're in, where there's an initial deposit, a design deposit, where you're going for engineering permits and doing all of these design selections, and then moving to a construction agreement. So we've seen that 3-part. We've seen there's a lot of builders out there just doing a 2-part series where you take that initial deposit, and then there's no other financial transaction or agreement until you're ready to go to construction. And then there are some other builders who kind of do a hybrid of both, and they hash in smaller
milestones,
milestone agreements and financial transactions, so that the builder stays whole each step of the way.
Well, there is that, and depending on where you are and what you do, your pricing is going to be different as far as what you charge for plan deposits and design deposits. But we always recommend that you have some progress payments. You want to make sure that the client is still engaged with you, right? Because people can eat your time up. Something to really think about. So hey, you take the initial plan deposit, then you get into engineering or design. That can be another deposit. And these aren't big money things.
Right.
But every time a customer gives you a little bit more money, they commit. And that's a very big thing. You want to make sure that they're committing all the way through, because you don't want to get used in this process. Right. And you want to make sure, hey, if they're willing to pay you more money, that kind of means you guys are clicking and you're working through what they want.
Right.
And it also it takes a temperature.
It does. And Dave's exactly right. You're recommitting to each other.
That's
and
right.
These aren't big financial transactions in that scenario. So it's easy for the client to progress through the pipeline and get closer to the construction date, the release for production, all that, and the delivery. So it's all good stuff. But so excited to have so many great questions today. I mean, that's really, really a lot. It really is. A lot of people tuned in. A lot of people chimed in. And we really appreciate that as this grows. This is our 4th episode now, third, 4th. So we're really trying to bring you value. If you have suggestions, you want us to answer questions for you, whether it's on this show, the product spotlight, the expert interview, any of building your brand. That's another one that we're doing. That's tomorrow with Miles Biggs tomorrow. Yeah, love those.
If you have questions, please reach out to us. If you need help, please reach out to us. We really do appreciate each and every one of you, and we really thank you for tuning in.
Yeah, we really do. And next week we're getting into the dirt.
We are getting into the dirt. What is next week? We got out of design. Yes, site work, going from the design center into the dirt.
Yes.
Perfect. We're gonna have to bring our 4-year-old son into this because he loves dirt.
Yeah, wear your work boots, people.
There you go. All right, everybody. Dave Cooper and Jennifer. This is a Dave Cooper .live episode on LinkedIn. What do you say, Jennifer? Give him a sayonara with a. We'll see you next time.
We'll see you next time.
Bye, everybody.